They say when your life changes forever, there's a sound, a crack of thunder, the screech of tires, the final click of a door locking behind you. Mine? It was the doorbell. A chime so ordinary I nearly didn't answer it. But that's how it starts, right? That's how a man's world tips sideways. You're not standing in the middle of an earthquake. You're grading papers in sweatpants and sipping lukewarm coffee when the trimmer knocks politely at your front door. I was Adam Keller, high school teacher, crossword addict, husband of 20 years. And at 7:43 p.m. on a Tuesday, I was a man who believed he knew his life. Monica, my wife, was in the kitchen, chopping carrots like they owed her money. Knife. Chop. Knife. Chop. Her ponytail bobbed with military precision. I crossed the foyer and opened the door, red grading pen still in hand, expecting a solicitor, maybe one of those earnest kids selling popcorn for the marching band. Instead, I got a lanky 18-year-old kid with my eyes. "Can I help you?" I asked. The kid swallowed, adjusted the strap on his backpack. "Mr. Keller?" "Adam Keller." "That's me," I said, automatically. He stuck out a hand. "My name's Eli Brenner. I'm your son." Now, if I was in a movie, the camera would have panned in on my face while dramatic strings swelled. But I didn't blink. 20 years of teaching had trained me to keep a poker face even when a sophomore turned in an essay comparing The Great Gatsby to The Fast and the Furious. Still, I gripped the doorknob tighter. I felt my wedding ring click against the brass. "That's not possible," I said, but my voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded like a man who just started to remember something he wasn't supposed to. "University of Michigan," the kid said. "Sophomore year. Jessica Brenner." "Jessica. 3 weeks. 1 summer. A girl who smelled like almond shampoo and listened to Pearl Jam while studying biology flashcards." "I was born January 8, 2008, he said. "Mom tried to tell you. You transferred schools by then." I should have said something. Should have invited him in, or shut the door or passed out. But all I could do was stand there like a man watching his own foundation crack. Monica's voice saved me, or doomed me. "Adam? Who's at the door?" She walked up behind me, dish towel in hand, expression going from curious to concerned to volcanic in about 3 seconds flat. "This is Eli," I said. "He says he's my son." The towel hit the floor. Her eyes narrowed like I'd just admitted to smuggling heroin through airport security. "You're what?" Eli pulled a photograph from his pocket. Me and Jessica, arms around each other. Young. Carefree. Idiots. "Her final wish was for me to find you," Eli said, voice tight. "She died last year. Cancer." And just like that, Monica turned into granite. She grabbed my arm. "Inside. Now." To Eli, she said, "You need to leave." I barely remember what happened next. Something about him staying at the Holiday Inn on Maple. Something about calling tomorrow. Something about me being in shock. Because as soon as the doors shut, Monica exploded. "A son? He's 18, Adam. We've been married 20. You cheated on me." "I didn't know," I said. "I swear, Monica. I never knew." She didn't believe me. But here's the thing. Neither did I. Not yet. Because this wasn't the story of a secret son. This was just the beginning. You ever watch a thread unravel from a sweater? It doesn't rip or tear, it just unspools. Quietly. Persistently. One tug, and before you know it, your whole wardrobe's in ruins. That night, Monica didn't sleep. She didn't cry either. Monica didn't do tears. She did silence. Weaponized it. And it was loud as hell. I sat on the couch in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, trying to count how many times I'd said the words I didn't know. It didn't matter. Once was already too many for her. The next morning, I made coffee like always, 2 sugars, no cream for her, black for me. She didn't drink hers. Just stared at it like it had personally betrayed her. "Are you going to see him?" she asked, voice low and flat, like a tire losing air. "I need to talk to him." "Yeah," I said. She nodded once. "Of course you do." Funny how a nod can feel like a slap. I drove to the Holiday Inn like I was on trial. Not a husband. Not a father. Not even a teacher. Just a man whose life had been politely detonated by a teenager with my cheekbones. Room 214. I knocked. Eli opened the door wearing a hoodie that said, "U of M Physics Club." I half laughed. Genetics really is a stubborn thing. "Hey," he said. "Hey," I replied, hands in pockets like a 7th grader outside the principal's office. "Want to come in?" "No. Let's walk." We ended up at the Starbucks across the parking lot. He got some iced sugar monstrosity. I got black coffee, no room, Like it could somehow make me look like I had control of anything. Why now? I asked. He shrugged. She always meant to tell you. But then life got in the way. Then it got short. I looked at him. This stranger. This son. I wanted to ask him 100 things. Favorite food? Do you like dogs? Are you scared of thunderstorms? Did she ever tell you I was smart? Instead, I asked, why come find me at all? He blinked. Because I wanted to know where I came from. Fair. We sat in silence for a long time, sipping drinks we didn't taste. Then he said, you seem decent. Not what I expected. What did you expect? A liar, he said. Or someone who'd slammed the door. I'm still deciding, I replied. That made him grin. First one I'd seen. After we said goodbye, I walked back to my car and just sat there, hands on the wheel, engine off. When I got home, Monica was waiting on the couch, still in her robe, hair unbrushed. That was her version of a 5-alarm fire. How was it? She asked without looking up. He's smart, quiet, polite. She scoffed. Perfect. Just what I need. A bonus teenager showing up right as I'm finally enjoying quiet dinners and folding towels alone. I didn't respond. Part of me thought, you're not folding towels alone anymore. You just started folding them without me. That night, I slept in the guest room again. In the dark, I heard her whisper something through the wall. I pressed my ear to it. You better not ask for money, she said. I wanted to laugh, or cry, or scream, but I did none of those things. I just whispered back, he didn't. But something else was whispering in my head now too. A question I hadn't asked yet. What secrets have you been keeping, Monica? I didn't know then, but I was about to find out. And oh, brother, she'd saved the worst for last. So here's where things start tilting sideways. Up till now, everything was a shock. A gut punch. But what came next? That was suspicious, and suspicion has a different weight. It's not sudden like a betrayal. It's slow. Like a headache that creeps in behind your eyes and won't leave. It started with a photo. Not Eli's. A different one. I was digging through our filing cabinet, looking for the deed to the house because I needed something to feel like mine, when I found an old envelope labeled Taxes 2010. Not thrilling stuff, but Monica's handwriting caught my eye. Inside, along with some bank statements, was a photo I'd never seen before. It was Monica, in a hospital gown, holding a newborn. Not unusual, except this baby wasn't our daughter, Emily. Emily was born in 2006. This photo? It was dated 2008. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe a cousin's baby. A friend's kid. Except there was something about the way she was looking at that baby. Not like an aunt. Not like a visitor. Like a mother. My stomach flipped like a bad pancake. I walked into the kitchen, photo in hand. She was standing at the sink, rinsing out a wine glass, midday. That was new. Hey, Monica, I said, holding it out. Who's this? She froze. Didn't even fake a smile. Where'd you find that? Answer the question. She dried her hand slowly. That's not important. Sure feels important. She turned. It's not what you think. I think you're holding a baby in 2008 that isn't ours. That puts it after we were married. And right around when I transferred schools. Sound familiar? She looked at me then, really looked at me. And something in her face changed. Not panic. Not guilt. Resentment. You want honesty? She said. Fine. It was mine. But not yours. Now, look. I've been called calm before. I've broken up hallway fights without raising my voice. I've given lectures on Hamlet while kids were tick-toeing under the desk. But in that moment, I forgot how to breathe. You had a baby, I said, slowly, with someone else, during our marriage. She didn't blink, and gave it up. Because I chose you. Because I thought we could still work. I took a step back. You chose me? Like I was the charity option? Her voice was ice. Don't act like you were some saint, Adam. You had your little summer fling. Mine just came with consequences. Yours came with a human being you never told me about. She crossed her arms. What would you have done, huh? Raised him like your own? Just like you're planning with Eli now. I stared at her, a woman I once memorized like poetry, and realized I didn't know her at all. Eli wasn't the twist in my life. Monica was. Later that night, I stood in the garage, just existing. Dust in the air, silence in my chest. I stared at the din in the old fridge and tried to do the math. Her secret baby. Eli. Our 20-year marriage. The numbers didn't add up. Not anymore. And somewhere deep in the pit of my stomach, something cold began to form. Not grief. Not rage. A plan. Let me tell you something about silence. It's never really quiet. It hisses. It hums. It sings lullabies in reverse. That's what my house felt like now. Not empty. Just loud with all the things she never said. I didn't confront her again that night. Didn't ask who the father was. Didn't demand names or reasons or apologies. I just sat in the garage with an old folding chair and a beer I didn't even want. The silence buzzed like a street lamp in my head. I wasn't planning revenge yet. No, that comes later. Right now, I was still busy unpacking the fine print of a life I apparently co-signed without reading. The next day, I called Eli. Hey, I said, trying to sound casual, like I hadn't just discovered my wife's 15-year-old secret love child. You ever take a DNA test? There was a pause. I did one of those ancestry kits. Why? You still have the results? Yeah, he said slowly. You want them? Yeah. Send me a screenshot. He did. 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed. There it was. Eli Brenner. Paternal match, 99. 998%. No more doubt. He was mine. One mystery solved. Which only made Monica's mystery louder. I still hadn't told Eli about the photo. Didn't plan to, not until I understood what I was dealing with. One surprise kid at a time was more than generous, I figured. That night, Monica and I sat at the dinner table like two coworkers eating in a break room. Pasta. No sauce. She said she wasn't hungry. I said I didn't care. Halfway through her second glass of wine, she broke the silence. Are you going to leave me? No, I said. Not yet. She looked up at that. I think part of her expected a fight. Or tears. Maybe a dramatic storm out. But I wasn't giving her that. Not because I was kind. Because I was patient. She sipped her wine. So what now? I don't know. Maybe you tell me who the hell the father is. She set the glass down slowly. His name was Derek. We met at a fundraiser for the school. Of course you did. It wasn't a long thing. A few months. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks after we ended it. I leaned back in my chair. And you never told me. Not once. Not even when we had the conversation, you remember the one, about trying for a second kid. She looked at the table. I couldn't. Couldn't? Or wouldn't? Her silence was answer enough. I stood up, took my plate to the sink, and said over my shoulder, do me a favor. If there are any other secret children out there, can we just put them all in one group chat and get it over with? She didn't laugh. Neither did I. The next week was a slow drift into weirdness. We didn't fight. Didn't talk. Didn't touch. The house became a museum of unspoken truths. I went to work, taught Macbeth like I wasn't unraveling inside, smiled at students who had no idea their teacher had become a stranger in his own home. Eli started texting more. Questions, mostly. Things about me. About my side of the family. About what kind of music I liked in college. It felt strange bonding with this kid while simultaneously realizing my wife was more stranger than spouse. Then one night, I came home and found a message on the answering machine. Old school, I know. Monica insisted we keep it. People still use landlines, she once said. Some things don't change. Yeah, right. The message was short. Hey, Monica. It's Derek. Saw your name in the old school newsletter. Weird blast from the past. Just wondering, do you ever think about that winter? I stood there in the hallway, coat still on, frozen. The voice was smooth, confident. That kind of charisma that sticks to your skin like cologne and regret. And suddenly, I wasn't just mad. I was curious. Over the next 2 days, I did what any rational man with a teaching salary and a broken heart would do. I turned into a low-rent private investigator. Started with the newsletter. Took me 10 minutes to find it online. Some digital alumni digest from her alma mater. Sure enough, there she was, Monica Keller, class of 98, now running community events at Lincoln Grove High. Complete with an email address. And below it, Derek Halpern, class of 98, real estate investor, father of 2, still hates cold weather. 2 kids. I stared at that line for a long time. Still hates cold weather. Suddenly, a memory hit me. Monica once said that. Years ago, when I suggested a ski trip. Derek always hated the snow, she'd said, then covered it with a laugh. I mean, everyone does, right? That laugh had a different ring now. I found Derek's website. Big smile. Bigger teeth. The kind of guy who sells you a house and then sleeps with your wife while you're hanging the curtains. There was a contact form. I didn't use it. I didn't need him to know I was looking. Not yet. That night, I cooked dinner. Real dinner. Steak. Asparagus. Mashed potatoes with too much butter. Monica looked suspicious the second she saw the table. What's this? Dinner. She sat down slowly, watching me like I was a dog that had learned to use a knife. Midway through the meal, I looked up and said, Derek called. Her fork froze. I didn't answer. I added, he left a message. Her hand went to her wine glass. Her tell. Just like poker. What did he say? Said he saw your name. Said he was reminiscing. She looked like she was about to lie, then decided not to. Do you want to know if he's the father? She asked. I already know. She blinked. I've seen photos of his kids. One of them looks just like the baby in the hospital photo. Her jaw tightened. I leaned forward, elbows on the table. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to tell me everything. Every single thing. And you're going to do it tonight. Why? Because the difference between me and Derek, I said, is I don't forget the winter. She didn't say a word. But her silence? It said plenty. I always thought the truth would come like a thunderclap. Loud, messy, unignorable. Turns out, the real truth slips in quietly, like a spider down the back of your collar. You don't scream. You freeze. You start to itch. You wonder how long it's been there. We sat on opposite ends of the couch that night. Not touching. Not talking. Not even looking. Just two people bound by legal paperwork, tax returns, and a rapidly decaying sense of shared reality. Monica finally spoke first. It started with a fundraiser, she said. I almost laughed. Of course it did. You remember the winter of 2007? You'd just taken the interim department head position, working those insane hours, coming home smelling like dry erase markers and anxiety? Vividly, I said. I also remember thinking we were building something. She ignored the jab. There was this banquet. I wasn't even supposed to go. But the PDA president dropped out last minute, and someone needed to organize the silent auction. That's where I met him. Derek. She nodded. He donated a week at some cabin in the Poconos. Came with a framed brochure and this ridiculous grin. You know the type. I did. Slick. Unbothered. Always within 6 inches of a compliment and 3 inches of your personal space. It was harmless at first, she continued. He was charming. Funny. He flirted, but I brushed it off. Until you didn't. She flinched at that. Until I didn't. Silence. She went on. It wasn't love. It wasn't even lust, really. It was escape. He made me feel seen. I clenched my jaw. I saw you. You saw a version of me, she said. The version that ran the household, packed your lunch, managed the bills, played the part. But he asked about my writing. That stung. Because I used to ask about her writing, too. Until she stopped doing it. Or maybe I just stopped listening. She stared ahead, voice softening. It wasn't supposed to happen more than once. But it did. And when I found out I was pregnant, I panicked. You were going to raise another man's child under my roof. No. That's why I didn't tell you. I went out of town. Remember that sabbatical I said I took to help my aunt after her surgery? I nodded. I even remembered packing her a travel mug and slipping a note inside it. Don't forget to rest. I love you. Turns out she was resting all right. In a maternity ward. With Derek's kid in her arms. I gave the baby up for adoption, she said flatly. Closed. Private. I thought it was the cleanest way to handle the mess. The mess. I repeated. You mean your son? She flinched again. That's 2 for 2. I didn't come here to fight, Adam. I stood up. That's the problem, Monica. You don't come anywhere to face anything. You just bury it. Like secrets or compost, and maybe if you pile enough shame on top, something beautiful will grow. She looked away. So what now? You want a divorce? I didn't answer. Because the truth was, I didn't know. Not yet. I needed more. More truth. More control. More something. So I left the house and drove. No music. No destination. Just the glow of streetlights and the low throb of rage in my chest. I ended up at a diner we used to go to in our first year of marriage. It still had the same cracked red booths and laminated menus sticky at the edges. The waitress was maybe 19. She wore too much eyeliner and called me Han. I liked her immediately. You look like you're either writing a novel or planning a murder, she said, setting down my coffee. Maybe both, I replied. She laughed. Well, write fast. We close at midnight. I nursed my coffee for an hour, staring at the steam like it held answers. That's when it hit me. It wasn't just about Monica anymore. Or Derek. Or the baby she gave away like a bad check. This was about everything. All the ways she'd rewritten our story while I was too busy playing the straight man. Every chapter she edited in secret, every margin she scribbled over with invisible ink. I pulled out my phone and opened a new note. To do. Look into adoption records from 2008, Poconos region. Contact Eli's mom's old college roommate. Jessica once mentioned a friend who knew Moni with the good penmanship. Call a lawyer. Not for divorce. Yet. Just for creative brainstorming. Find out if Derek Halpern still has that real estate license. Because if I was going to stay in this mess, I was going to run it. No more playing the quiet husband. No more grading essays while she wrote fiction with our lives. When I got home, the house was dark. Monica was asleep, or pretending to be. I didn't care. I went to the office and opened a drawer she never touched. Inside was an old hard drive from our college days. I'd kept it out of habit, thinking it might hold drafts of my early lectures. Turns out, it held something better. Photos. Dozens of them. From those missing weeks in 2008. From her so-called sabbatical. One of them showed Monica holding a baby, eyes red, but smiling. And there, just barely visible in the corner of the frame, a hospital bracelet. I zoomed in. Mother, Monica Keller. Baby, male, Halpern. Gotcha. I closed the laptop slowly, every movement precise. Controlled. Like I was disarming a bomb. Because here's the thing Monica never understood about me. I may fold my socks. I may eat cold cereal for dinner. I may be quiet. But I'm not boring. I'm methodical. And now? I had a method. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry, that ship had sailed. Anger's loud. It takes up too much room. What I had now is sharper, quieter, something closer to strategy. The truth was finally out, or most of it anyway. Monica had buried a child, buried her guilt, buried the truth, and expected our marriage to be the shovel. And me? I'd spent 20 years playing the dependable husband. The safe one. The one who made dinner and listened without interrupting. But quiet men don't stay quiet forever. Sometimes, they take notes. And sometimes, they take control. By morning, I was a new man with the same name. I made coffee, poured Monica a cup, just like always. She blinked at it. Suspicious. You're being civil. Why wouldn't I be? I smiled. It's just another Tuesday in paradise. She didn't reply, but I saw her shoulders tense. Good. Let her feel it, the shift in power. I wasn't her doormat anymore. I was her mirror. And she wasn't going to like the reflection. I called Eli later that afternoon. He was at the library. You said you wanted to know more about me, I said. How do you feel about a road trip? He hesitated. Where? Somewhere your mom and I never expected to go back to. A beat passed. Yeah. Okay. When? Now. We drove northeast. Not much talking, just the radio humming low and the road unraveling ahead of us. At some point, Eli said, You're different than I expected. Most people are, I replied. Monica's your wife, right? Still is, technically. Are you going to stay with her? I gripped the steering wheel a little tighter. That depends. On what? On how far the rock goes. The adoption agency was tucked between a dentist's office and a shuttered bakery. The building looked tired, like it had stories it wasn't allowed to tell. Inside, everything smelled like hand sanitizer and faded paper. I introduced myself using the charm I reserve for parent-teacher conferences and IRS calls. I'm doing a private search, I explained to the clerk. Trying to reconnect some missing family. She looked skeptical. We don't release identifying info without a court order. That's fine, I said, sliding a printed photo across the desk. The one of Monica holding the baby, with the hospital bracelet barely visible. The clerk raised an eyebrow. Where'd you get this? Same place the truth usually hides. Somewhere you don't look until it's too late. She didn't laugh, but she typed. And 30 minutes later, I had a name. Benjamin Halpern. Born February 14th, 2008. Valentine's Day. Of course. Monica always said she hated that holiday, said it felt like a performance. Now I knew the real reason. You can't celebrate love when it reminds you of what you gave away. Eli and I sat in the car outside the agency, the engine idling. You think you'll try to meet him? He asked. Not yet, I said. That's not my decision to make. You mean Monica's? I looked at him. I mean his. He's 17, almost a legal adult. If he wants answers, he deserves the right to knock on the door. But no one's going to shove him through it. Eli nodded slowly. You're not what I expected from a guy who found out he had a secret kid and a lying wife in the same week. I smirked. What did you expect? More yelling. More drama. Maybe a fist through a wall. I chuckled. That's not me. I don't blow up. He nodded again. You burn slow. Exactly. That night, back home, Monica was on the couch reading, pretending to be relaxed. Her glass of wine sat untouched on the coffee table. That was her tell now. When she didn't drink, it meant she was waiting for the other shoe to drop. I dropped it. His name's Benjamin, I said, setting my keys down like I wasn't detonating our whole marriage. She froze. Your son, I added. He was adopted by a family in Lancaster. Nice people. Church-going. Stable. Sound familiar? Her voice cracked. You didn't have the right. Spare me. I snapped. You gave up your right the minute you lied about him. I'm not here to judge your choices, Monica. I'm here to understand what you did with them. Her eyes filled with something close to regret, but not close enough. I thought it would stay buried, she whispered. I didn't think you'd go digging. That's the problem, I said. You married a teacher. We dig for a living. She didn't speak, just stared at the floor like the answers might rise from the hardwood. I took a breath. I'm not leaving. She looked up, startled. Not yet, I added. You don't get to cheat, lie, and walk away clean. That's not how this ends. So what? You're going to punish me, she asked, voice hardening. No, I said. I'm going to remind you of who I am, of what this marriage cost me, and of what it means when a man finally stops folding his socks and starts folding the whole damn story. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I wrote. Not lesson plans. Not grocery lists. Not anniversary cards with pre-printed poetry. I wrote a manifesto. Not for her. For me. The Quiet Husband's Guide to Tactical Payback. Step 1. Collect. Done. Step 2. Confront. Ongoing. Step 3. Undermine. Subtly. Legally. Permanently. Step 4. Leave, but not empty-handed. I didn't want revenge. Not the way people imagine it. I didn't want her car keyed or her credit ruined. I didn't want her sobbing in the street while I drove off into the sunset. I wanted something cleaner. I wanted to reclaim myself. Every corner she'd dimmed. Every version of me she'd rewritten. Every ounce of respect she'd misplaced. I was taking it back. Not loud. Not messy. Just efficient. Because when a quiet man burns, he does it with blue flame. I'll say this. Revenge is a funny word. People hear it and picture something dramatic, keyed cars, slashed tires, screaming matches in the rain. But real revenge? It's subtle. Like a paper cut. Like mold in the walls. You don't notice it right away, but by the time you do, the damage is permanent. I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. Instead, I printed out a stack of paperwork. Monica came downstairs one morning and found it on the kitchen table. 5 crisp pages, double-sided. A list of every account we shared, every asset we co-owned, and a rough breakdown of who paid what over the last 20 years. There was a yellow sticky note on top. You've spent 2 decades rewriting the truth. I thought I'd fact-check the story. She didn't touch the papers. She didn't even sit down. Just said, what is this? Accountability, I said, sipping coffee. You should try it. Goes great with wine. By week 3 of the Cold War, I had answers. And a plan. Eli and I had gotten closer, slowly, awkwardly, but it was real. He'd started calling me Dad, once, by accident. Didn't correct himself. I didn't either. Monica noticed, of course. And like clockwork, she tried to make amends the only way she knew how. Control. One night, she sat beside me, all soft-voiced and nostalgic. Do you remember the summer we went to Cape May? She asked. The inn with the blue shutters? We could go again. I smiled. You mean the year after your sabbatical? When you were still hiding a pregnancy and a whole human being from me. She didn't bring up Cape May again. Instead, she started looking nervous. I noticed her checking the mail more often, deleting browser history, whispering on the phone. So I did what any honest, mild-mannered man would do. I checked the guest Wi-Fi logs. She'd been searching housing prices. In her maiden name. Googling phrases like, can a spouse sell house behind husband's back? And how to remove someone from joint mortgage. I wasn't mad. I was impressed. On a quiet Thursday morning, I executed the first phase of my exit. Monica came home from yoga to find the house empty. No lights. No TV. My slippers, gone. My keys, gone. My office, once cluttered with papers, completely cleared out. But the real message was on the kitchen island. A notarized letter. Short. Direct. Monica. You had a version of this marriage in your head, a story you controlled, edited, and cast me into like I was a prop. But I've read the script now, and I've decided to write a new one. I'm not asking for your apology. I already lived without it. You'll hear from my attorney soon. Don't worry, I'm not out for blood. Just balance. Adam. P.S. I left your wine glasses. I always hated them anyway. I didn't leave town. That would be too easy for her. I stayed visible, just not reachable. I rented an apartment exactly 2 blocks from the school. Walked past the house once a week. Never looked in. Didn't need to. I knew she was unraveling. People like Monica don't collapse with drama. They corrode quietly. From the inside. I heard from friends, casual things. She'd missed a PTA meeting. Asked someone if I was dating. Told someone else I might be going through something. She didn't tell anyone the truth. Because that would mean admitting I wasn't the weak one. Months passed. The divorce finalized smoothly. Efficiently. I didn't take much. Just enough. She kept the house, but not the silence. That belonged to me now. Eli still visits. We watch baseball, argue over music, cook badly, and laugh hard. He asks about Monica sometimes. Do you hate her? He said once, out of nowhere. I paused. No, I said. But I remember her. He nodded like he understood. The last time I saw Monica in person was at the DMV. We both reached for the same pin. She looked tired. Expensive. Hollow. Adam, she said, almost surprised. Monica. Long pause. I miss our life, she said softly. I miss the idea of it, I replied. But the real thing? You buried it. She smiled faintly. You always were poetic when you were mad. I held up the pin. You can have it. Then I walked away. So no, I didn't slash tires. Didn't light fires. Didn't shout. But I burned everything she built, with facts, patience, and dignity. And when the smoke cleared, I wasn't broken. I was free.